Hello, everybody. This is Travis. Thanks for coming to Tpull's Corner. Hope you're having a better day than I am, because this deck has been pretty bad pretty bad for me in the last couple of days, which is kind of an interesting twist on things because when I made it, it was a very winning deck, and I've only had it for a few days. Wow. That's a pretty impressive spell to use against a tiny little creature. They must have a lot of removal. We'll give them another little dinky creature and see what they do against it. Yeah, I guess we're getting rid of the most powerful creature in our entire deck. We'll play the land. Nothing else really we want to play right now. That is a creature I have in my deck. I wonder if this is sort of some kind of a mirror match going on. They already have two creatures out. That's cheap. Let's see. That's one, that's two. So we can make them exile the assassin now. And then if they block this, they'd lose it, so they don't want to. There's more value if they can just keep playing land and ping me for land. They didn't even get land. All right, I've got two lost teeth. Alright, this is what we want. And now we get some life gain when we attack as well, so there's no reason to hold back. And if they're removal heavy like I suspect and they kill this, we're just going to do it again. It's my choice. Wait, oh, it's any other creature, okay. That's fine, we'll get rid of this now. Keep me at 20 life. Oh, never mind. That's what they were doing. Okay. That's fine. Let's do this. I could have done Brotherhood's End, but if they have other cheap creatures... Ooh. Well, I only had one other copy of that in the deck, and I didn't really have a way to get the other Mishra out of the graveyard, so that's not the worst thing in the world. They do get to see what I have in my hand now. So, no reason to hold on to Brotherhood's End anymore. And we can still afford our third tooth. And that is mostly removal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is a lot of removal. I'm just going to hold on to the land, because they've got a discard theme going on here. Yeah, we're just going to hold on to things. If the next time they have a creature, we're ready for them. If they're saving up for a really big creature, it's not really going to be helpful for them. Ooh, I like that creature. This is what we built the deck around. Ob-Nixilis, Captive Kingpin. Legendary Creature Demon, 4/3. And he's already dead. So is this almost just entirely removal? We'll find out soon enough. Sorry, no artifacts, no creatures. Mwahaha. No, there's a creature. We're getting there. It's a slow version because they've had so much removal, but this deck is kind of built around the idea of death by 1,000 cuts. That's a good removal card. They had exactly what they needed because Unearth prevents me from bringing it back as an Unearth card. But here's yet another one single damage point. You start off with the start your engine thing. I always feel like this is a little bit unfair because it starts your engine to begin with and then automatically gives you a number 2. But, you know, that's the way they design the cards. I think I have 2 or 3 of those total. So again, not the worst thing in the world. This is kind of similar to an Exile deck that I have, but not quite. I didn't bother with Bandit's Talent. I think we just keep it on attacking. I'm going to hold on to my land still. They could get like 3 discard spells in a row and we'd still be okay. I noticed that a lot of what we have are death triggers, and a lot of what they've started showing up with all of a sudden is exile, exile, exile. So I wonder if Arena was trying to help them in terms of, you know, matching me up against an opponent who would avoid my death triggers, but I mean also maybe flooding me out. That's a lot of lands to draw in a row. We will put that one down because that turns into a creature. That also lets me get rid of some lands and draw into better spells. So I feel like my deck is not really a control deck, but I feel very much in control right now. And my opponent's actually the one flooding out now. Let's see, 1 point of damage is good. Activate the creature. Attack. We can afford to get rid of a land now. That's a good card to get. And now it just doesn't matter if they can't exile this, if they just kill it, they lose a life. I'm not sure that was fair. It looked like they just flooded out and didn't have much of a chance to do much else. But to be fair, they did get rid of a lot of our creatures. They had like 9 or 10 removal cards. The nice thing is, even though they got rid of the primo card that the deck was built around, the deck still performed well. And that's what you want in a nicely balanced, nicely designed deck. Okay, it's called 1 Damage, 1 Life is the name of the deck. Ob-Nixilis is what we built it around. I had 3 copies already. I wasn't getting the 4th one, but I burned a Mythic Rare Wild card to get 4 cards because I really wanted to have 4 copies of this card to build the deck around. And we're losing which I got confused because they said they were delaying rotation until the beginning of the new year to avoid confusing newer players. And then, so for some reason, I thought we weren't going to have a middle of the year rotation, and we are. So they just announced not too long ago, on January 29th, I believe, when Edge of Eternities comes out, we're losing like Dominaria United, Brothers of War, Phyrexian will be 1, March of the Machines, and March of the Machines Aftermath. So I bit the bullet, even though we don't have a lot of time to play with this card. I burned a Mythic Rare just to get it because I wanted to play with this in the standard environment. So 4/3 legendary demon with flying and trample. Whenever one or more opponents lose exactly one life, and you notice from that wording that it's built to be played in commander decks. You put a +1/+1 counter on Ob. You exile the top card of your library, and you may play that card only until the end of your next end step. So you don't get an extra turn to play that card in exile. You have to play that turn. So a lot of the early pop-offs of this card, when it gets activated, you're probably not going to have the extra energy to play whatever card that is, unless it's just an extra land you haven't played. So, but we've got 60 cards in the deck, so we're willing to lose some of those. That will have something that just keeps adding power on the battlefield already. There are, just so you know, there is a way, maybe more than one in the current environment, where if you make them lose exactly one life, you give ob-Nixilis a counter, and then you exile a card. And there's a way to chain that off so that it just creates a never-ending situation where you're dealing exactly one life every time a condition is met. He gets another counter, exiles another card, and it's just an infinite little life loss, exactly 1 point every time, and you can't interrupt that chain. I didn't specifically build something into this deck for that because that was all over YouTube when this card first came out. So if you want to go look for an infinite combo chain on ob-Nixilis, you should be able to find it pretty easily. But I just wanted to showcase all the different cards that are in the current environment that would help out with this card. So we've got 4 copies of Fear Lost Teeth. Deals exactly 1 damage to any target, so it could be against the opponent, and you gain 1 life. This is turning out to be one of my favorite cards for 1-drops for black, just because some people don't seem to read the card, and they'll block with a 2/2, and they don't realize I can actually destroy their 2/2 if I want to. Hired Claw is a really nice card to work with ob-Nixilis, because as soon as you tap it to attack, you're dealing 1 point of damage. So you're getting to add a counter and exile a card off the top of your deck, even before your opponent gets a chance to declare blockers. So maybe if you get the right instant, you could actually afford to pay that instant and get rid of a creature that was going to block it. If you've got 2 extra energy, you can only do this once each turn, but you can pump the +1/+1 counter on the Hired Claw. Again, some opponents don't read the card, so they're blocking what they see as a 1/2, and then you can, because you did the 1 damage already with the attack itself, you've already met the conditions required to activate this mana cost. So he's actually a 2/3 at your discretion as long as you keep 2 mana open. Tectonic Hazard is a great card in terms of, in case your opponent's got a bunch of 1/1s out, and especially if Ob is already out on the field, then you can activate him and clear the field. Ghost Vacuum is the one, this is kind of to deal with Reanimator decks. I don't have anything else that can exile things from their graveyard. But graveyard tactics are very popular right now. So I wanted to find a good card. For some reason, I don't like the other choices that black has in terms of exiling things from the graveyard. You'd think that black would be better outfitted for that. But it's really, they've resorted to, for the most part, white that gets to exile everything from the graveyard. I disagree with that. So I ended up going to an artifact to find something that was selective enough that I could continue to get rid of their graveyard as I needed to. Gingerboot is great to go with ob-Nixilis because they can pay 1. Then if they don't have any haste creatures out, this creature can't be blocked, so you're guaranteed to do 1 point of damage. Agate Blade Assassin from Bloomborough is the same card as Sanguine Siphoner, just a reskin. This is from Foundation. So whenever the creature attacks, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. We've got a little bit of life gain in the deck because of this this theme of losing a life and gaining a life. And that's part of what makes this an evil deck. It can be very frustrating to play against, especially if you don't have, if your opponent doesn't have life gain built that much into their deck, because they're losing death by 1,000 cuts, and there's just no way for them to get around that, because it's not like, maybe they could stop this from attacking if their creatures were big enough and I didn't want to lose it. But a lot of other times, you're just losing a life point here and losing a life point there every single turn. And it just seems like you can feel it coming. It's inevitable. And you start to feel a little helpless because you're like, if only I got the right card, maybe I could do something about this. But you never seem to. Starscape Cleric, the Bat Cleric, can't block. But whenever you gain a life, each opponent loses 1 life. So again, that's the case where you can maybe get a couple of activations off of ob-Nixilis in the same turn. Because if this attacks, then they lose a life and you gain a life. That will go ahead and trigger ob-Nixilis. and then once you gain a life from the Siphoner or the Assassin, they're going to lose another life from this, and they're going to trigger ob-Nixilis again, because it's not like a lot of the other cards that they're designing now to prevent this from being a runaway great card, better than it is. They say you can only activate it once each turn. Ob-Nixilis is a mythic rare. They don't have that limit. This can pop off as many times as you can satisfy. So you can still get, even though I didn't do the infinite chain, you can get multiple combination pop-offs on and get him 2-3 counters a turn. Vengeful Blood Witch, you could get 3, 4, 5, depending on how many creatures you lose. Whenever this creature or another creature you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So each creature that dies every single turn, whether it's theirs or yours, this is going to activate ob-Nixilis. We just need to get him on the field. That's all we need to do. Playful Shove at 1 point. We could do it against the opponent and trigger ob-Nixilis. We could. Maybe we just need 1 more point to get rid of the opponent's creature, and they don't know about it. And I love that this replaces itself by drawing a card. Ether Drift, I'm trying to use these cards. Gastal Thrillseeker does the damage and you gain a life. And then if you max the speed, you get a Death Touch and Haste, which can be really good because either from an attacking standpoint, maybe I want to convert a siege and they're too reluctant to block it, or maybe they've got like a 5/5, 6/6 creature and I want to block it. So that can come in handy later. We have 1 battle, 4 copies of it, Invasion of Asgol. This is my removal. The removal is appropriate with ob-Nixilis because it matches the color scheme, and you notice at the end, the player, this is good against both creatures or planeswalkers, so I have a chance against a planeswalker. But also, they lose 1 life. So that's kind of cool, because that'll activate ob-Nixilis. The 1 removal card I have that doesn't really do a point of damage is Blot Out. Get rid of a creature or planeswalker with the greatest mana value they control. And I don't have much else in the way of removal. I have 1 Brotherhood's End because Arena started doing this to me for the first couple of days when the worm turned. I had a great couple of days with this deck. I was going to take it into ranked maybe. And then they started putting me up. It's mythic rare, and when you create artifacts, it just creates more artifacts when you play them. So I have this mostly against artifacts because the data with this deck, I faced that synthetic synthesizer card like 3 times within 1 session, and so I switched out 1 card to account for that a little bit. Let me go back up to Marauding Blight Priest. Whenever you gain a life, each opponent loses 1 life, so a little bit more of the reverse, trying to gain a life. Cornered by Black Mages from the Final Fantasy expansion. Target opponent sacrifices a creature of their choice. You get a 0/1 black wizard creature, and that has the ability that whenever you cast a non-creature spell, the token deals exactly 1 damage to each opponent. Okay, I'm going to skip over Phyrexian Dragon Agent because it's one of the few other cards in the deck that does not trigger ob-Nixilis right away. Scrawling Crawler, a 3/2. At the beginning of your upkeep, both you and the other player. Again, it is built for Commander. It says each player, so it would be all players, but we're playing against just 1 opponent here. We each draw a card. When the opponent draws a card, they lose 1 life. So this could activate ob-Nixilis during their turn. Okay, Mishra, claimed by Gix. Whenever you attack, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures. There's easily a time when you just want to turn sideways and attack with everybody and do a lot of life gain. But there could be a time where you have ob-Nixilis out and you have Mishra out and you just want to maybe haste a Gingerbread and go in for 1 point of damage. You'll still gain a life here. They will lose exactly 1 life before we have to worry about them, say, like removing Gingerbread. But it'll still trigger ob-Nixilis if that's what you want to do. There could be a condition where you have a lot of energy available. You want to see what that next card is. You think that you could get that card draw advantage. That extra spell might be able to do something for you. And so there might be situations. You just have to just look at the battlefield conditions and see what you want to do. Do you want to attack with everybody and get a bunch of life gain off of Mishra? Or maybe you just want to attack for 1 point for this turn. So you got to think about this deck and figure out what you really want to do strategically. Finally, we do have one 5-drop, Bloodthirsty Conqueror, Flying Death Touch. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. And there are a way, you know, whenever you... I think the infinite combo is with... Where's my 3-drop? There we go, Marauding Brightpiece. Whenever you gain a life, they lose a life, right? So I think that those two out, that'll trigger the constant life gain, life loss that you can't break. If I wanted to put more of this in here, that would be we'd change it, right? We change into a Blight Priest and Bloodthirsty Conqueror deck, and we do that entirely. But I only have one copy of this. This card has not done me too well because I keep getting it. It's taking up an early draw. I either have it in hand or it's one of my first couple of times, which is impressive for the percentage of card and almost never get it out. But out of spite, I do have one Demolition Field to take care of their special lands, and we have one copy of Restless Vents. This card can really come in clutch. You spend 3, it turns into a 2/3 black and red insect creature with menace. This is just because we live in an environment where there's so much removal. If I can goad them into using all of the removal on my existing creatures, then I can bring this in when they're finally exhausted themselves and maybe they don't have any instants left. Maybe they have sorceries that would take care of things. But I'm attacking with this on my turn. They'd have to have an instant removal instead. Plus, if I have extra lands, I can just discard a card that's a land and maybe draw into something more useful. Because I always wanted to not take for granted my audience. I was raised off of comic books. My mom taught me how to read through comic books. So she was reading them to me when I was younger, and when I was old enough, I took over the reading. And one of the things that they used to do for comic books, they don't do it quite as much anymore. They kind of have a one-page editorial recap, and that's all that you get. But in the old days, they used to be very aware that somebody's comic book could be their very first comic book. So you wanted them to know if there was an ongoing story, what was going on. You didn't want them to get confused. And so I've adopted that practice here on this channel. And we're starting our 5th year now. July was our anniversary. It's actually my birthday, the month of my birthday, and the month that I debuted on. Do I want Hard Claw? I think I want Vengeful Blood Witch to start with. But it's also the month that I debuted my first video on YouTube. 4 full years. We're going into our 5th year. I'm still having a little bit of fun. I have dropped off a little bit. That's partly due to sets like Aether Drift and Final Fantasy, which I was not... I'm not nearly as much of a fan as, just because when that came out, I was in college, and I was a poor-starving college student, and I had to choose. And I already had my comic book collecting habit, and I loved going to the movies. And let's see, I think we go ahead and just attack here now, even though they have life gain. I'm going to swing this in, do a point of damage. They'll get it back, but whether they block this or not, I get to pump this up. And that's the end of that already. Okay, let's see. They have 4 mana. Whenever they gain life, they get stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to attack. Still perfect. They do get a card draw. But now we can play this, do 3 damage, and we're losing Fear of Lost Teeth. We get lots of triggers off of Vengeful Blood Witch, and we do the final point of damage on Exemplar of Light. So I did not mess up. It looked like I might have at the very beginning. And this is why this deck requires a little bit of thought. That's a lot of cards. If they've got nothing but flyers, I could be in trouble. So they've already gotten some life gain and card draw advantage, and I'm not there yet. I don't know that there's any reason for us to hold on to our lands. Yeah, they have lots of cards. You figure they've got board wipes built in there too. And they got the life gain thing. Yeah, I could be in trouble here. They built an entire army already. Let's see. Mishra and a creature are attacking. Okay, so let's bring this down first. If they destroy it, we could still maybe bring it back. And now with Sarah Paragon, that's a mythic rare, and they can just bring back everything from the graveyard. I'm not sure we even have enough time to get everything going now. Okay, let's go ahead and bring you down. Bring you down. And we're going to go ahead and bring this in. And the reason why is if we can attack with Mishra, we could bring this back and have it have haste, and we can trigger the Planeswalker all in one shot. They're going for the life gain. There's no real creature that they can get that's valid from the graveyard now. So they're just pumping up that Essence Channeler. Another Sarah Paragon? Wow. And not attacking with it. Well, I'm not sure that helps. But I think we're attacking no matter what. Let's see what we can get done here. Destroy target artifact or planeswalker. No. 3 damage to any target. Creatures you don't control get -1, and creatures you control get menace. So 3 damage to any target. I think it's okay to do 3 damage to you. Everybody else gets -1. And we're attacking for 9. And if they want to cast something, maybe we can still counter that with Ghost Vacuum? That's Inspiring Overseer. Can we get the... There's only one, right? So we exile it first instead. So we've got our counter Sarah Paragon going. This is the only card I have that has the Graveyard Hate. Oh no, they did. They had two Inspiring Overseers, and I chose the wrong one. Well, isn't that great? Okay, can they... If they can't get rid of Mishra, though, I still got a chance here. Yeah, because those are all going to die. Okay, 3 damage again. Creatures -1 and menace. We do 3 damage to that. We lose those 2. They do have enough to block, though. I think I'm going to have to get rid of... No, I get rid of both of them at the same time, right? Do they have a trick? If they have a trick, I'm in trouble. Choose a creature, it gains indestructible. Okay. So, I kill their lifelinker. And we can go ahead and get rid of something. And I think we're done. I think we might be dead too. That'll give them lifelink, right? That'll give them life gain. So I have to absolutely block with Gastal before I get the death touch. What do we got? They didn't have... You know what? I've got a turn here. We're down to 1. And I get a land. Alright, we bring in Phyrexian Dragon Engine. We get this. I guess we're bringing this down. We can attack and finally trigger the start your engines and give our blocker death touch. But he's got flying now. I think I did that wrong. I think I was supposed to do the 3 damage to Alabaster and just leave the Sarah Paragon on the field. So that was my mistake. Oh, he didn't get flying that time. He has to lose life to get that. Okay, so what do I do here? There's nobody that has flying, so I could... Oh! They gave up with a 12-11 on the field? And another lifelinker? What a quitter. Well, we had a couple of different ways that we could have tried to go, but... I wonder if this was their primary source of removal a lot of times. They did, if they have enough energy, they could do this to have all creatures be destroyed. So if they had more of those, I guess it's maybe they just had 99 more cards and they weren't satisfied with what they were going to get out of things. Alright. When you've got a creature that can kill your opponent in one hit, it's kind of weird for you to just cut and run. It's possible they just don't want a real battle. Some people don't want a real challenge. They want easy. Some people can get into a rush for any number of reasons. Maybe they had to go to the restroom. Maybe they needed to get their 15 wins in because they were going to see the Superman movie or something. I don't know. So yeah, I got real confused about the rotation. I thought we'd have everything until the new year for a while. If there's a place where you know where it's in writing on the web, where we can talk or learn about their actual rotation schedule, the new one, because they seem to have changed things over the last couple of years on what they're doing. Every time I turn around, they're changing things. I'm just playing with the eyes and making them close over here. Nobody wants to look at your eyes. So back to what I was saying about the comic books. Every comic book might be your first comic book, so I'm always assuming that there could be a viewer, and this is your first time to be viewing this channel. And here we can get rid of the goblins easy enough. I'll get rid of one now, actually, just because I want to see what my next card is. And since we got that kind of draw, I have no reason not to exile stuff from their graveyard. Since they have the color blue, there could be some creature or something that gets strength depending on how many instants and sorceries are in the graveyard. Look at this! That is... I'm not editing this after the fact. This is real time. But let's see, what do we get rid of? I think let's go ahead and put Mishra down first. I feel like we might have some time here. Never mind. That I need another one if I'm going to have a chance to get the Planeswalker out. Yeah, so I always want to make sure that I discuss the Kaizen playlist. This is maybe bumped up in the order by just one turn. Let's get rid of these before I forget. Let's try ob-Nixilis. They could have another removal card, but this is what the deck's based on. And if I have that out first, then I can trigger it with this. So that might be considered a little greedy. Let's get rid of some of these eyes. Yeah, since we're losing the Aftermath cards, I thought this is a nice... At the level of evil we're at with Kaizen, we're going to get better. We're going to get more good real soon here. Do you have another trick? Maybe I shouldn't have done that. 2 damage? Okay, so that's an even trade, though. That's fine. We have them get rid of this creature. We start our engines. We get rid of another... I don't think they can bring creatures back, so... Let's just keep digging away at their sorceries and instants so I don't forget about that. Look how easy they get stuff back. Yeah, let's make them sacrifice something. Figured that would happen. That's all we're going to do this time. There they go. That's what they wanted. This is a bit of a risk here. I want them to block with Tolarian Terror. Thank you. That gets rid of everybody. And let me actually get rid of Tolarian Terror. Again, you don't even need to kill your opponent sometimes. If you just let them know that you know what you're doing, if you put up a good fight. This never used to be the way it went at my friend's house. You go to your friends, you're there to play, man. There's a little bit of a wimpish factor with a lot of online opponents. And it's not even, I mean, it was what, 20 to 17 for life total? I didn't have anything left out on the field. And it's not like they couldn't have an Abrade in there to take out my artifacts so they could start building up instants and sorceries in the graveyard again, but that deck is really designed to kill your opponent a little bit quicker, so since I have 1-drops, we don't play the tap land. We go ahead and get the 1-drops out. We want good chump blockers. We want to get the first hit in. We want to tease out the early removal in case they're worried about stuff like that. Now we can go ahead and play tap land. And we'll have the right colors to play double black if we feel like it. Oh, this is interesting. They got to control 3 detectives, and then when they create tokens, they get clue tokens. Let's go ahead and put out the Dragon Engine. And I think we can get rid of their... I think we can get rid of that right now. Nope, they read the card. They read the card. Okay, we're still going to get rid of it. I don't want that to keep on getting more. This is a detective-themed deck. Let's put this out. Whenever I have these lands help activate ob-Nixilis as well, the Jagged Barrens, dealing 1 damage to target opponent. So, I'm actually trying to hold on to those instead of play them tapped out early if I can help it. They're looking at my Dragon Engine like they don't like it. Didn't really need to attack with a wizard, but that's okay. Okay, we expected something like that. Let's do Scrawling Crawler, and I'm gonna keep Lost Teeth in reserve in case I have a board wipe. This deck tends to need more time, so very understandable that they might have a board wipe in here. Roaming Throne instead. That is a tough card for me. I can afford this, right? Autopay. Now I've got 2 flyers. We'll go ahead and play the land finally. Down to 9 life. And we're doing the death by 1,000 cuts. They really need to get rid of Scrawling Crawler. Especially if they don't have any kind of life gain. If their deck is based around drawing more cards, they're gonna run into trouble really quick. Uh-oh. Draw 2 cards? Now they can block my flyers at least, so that's 2 more hit points, and they threw away a lifelinker to get there. There's 2 more because of Roaming Throne. The triggered ability, it triggers an additional time, so this draw 2 triggered twice. And now they're down to 3. Down to 2. And this is why there's so many ways to kill them right now. Trigger, trigger, trigger. Trigger. And we had so many more points of damage we were going to do to them, and we ended at 21. There are ways to beat this deck. An all-flyer deck might do you good. As always, if there's enough removal at the right time, it can do you good. Landfall, the Choco Landfall decks with Final Fantasy beat us half the time. And the artifact decks are tough. Discard's not necessarily that tough, and I wonder if it's just because they banned the enchantment card. So this isn't the most evil deck. It's not like we're sacrificing babies, right? But you can see how frustrating it can be to just lose a point here, lose another point there, lose another point there. They're taking their time. I actually feel like I'm going to need to build up to 5 since I have Bloodthirsty Conqueror in my hand, so I'm going to play the tap land out now. And they have to decide if they're going to kill this now or if it's like too small to worry about. if they have something that can remove it, they didn't wait. They didn't need to wait till the attack. So, see, that's a mistake. If they were going to kill it, they should have killed it before I did that. We're going to hold on to our ammo for a little bit here. Green has plenty of ways they can get stuff, permanents back from the graveyard. Black has a way to get mostly creatures back from the graveyard. So we're not too concerned about the instants if they don't have another color, but reveal their hand. Okay, they can take any card, right? Bloodthirsty Conqueror? Or do they not like my removal? Okay. We might get to the point where this is worth sacrificing. Get a whole bunch of 1/1 spirits. We're just basically putting up with a whole bunch of removal. Here, have another one. Discard and removal, discard and removal. At some point, we're going to come across their win condition. I'm not sure what they're waiting on. After this, I do want to put up an article from Hollywood Reporter that talks about the streaming business just because of its impact outpacing traditional television. It's really a generational shift change. Look at that. They just had removal again. It's just not something that would have been possible before the invention of the internet. But things have definitely changed over the past 20 years. We had a remarkable period of stability from the 80s all through the 90s. In the late 90s, the internet really did start to change things in ways that I did not foresee. And it's kind of interesting to watch businesses try and navigate the changing world of science and technology as it impacts them. It really has a tendency to throw your existing financial model in chaos, and they have to try and be flexible and nimble. Okay, we can do that. Let's go ahead and get rid of the extra bird now. And we can attack with this. They can block, but we get a life gain out of that, and they lost a life point. If they're going to attack with that, we don't really care. Oh, there's nothing for me to exile. Never mind. That was a token I got rid of there. So, in case they had some sort of way to increase the power of that anyway, we did not want to be around to block that. They're getting rid of this? Oh. Okay. Interesting choice. They could have had their creature fight Mishra. I wonder if they've got removal already for that. They probably do. They've had plenty of discard and removal already. Nope, just another creature. Oh, we found their win conditions, huh? Just in time. Got a good land drop. Used all of their energy. And they still have this treasure in case there's a deal damage spell for 1-drop they could use. No. Okay, I'm under 13. So 3, 4, 5. So I can bring down the Siphoner. I can bring in a Dragon Engine. Take action, get rid of the land, draw 3 other things. And then I can attack with these two. Let's see. Whenever they lose life, I gain that much life. So how much would I gain there? 9, 14. Perfect. We merge. We get the legendary creature. What are we going to do? We're going to do artifact or planeswalker. None of those. Well, we can destroy their treasure, but that's okay. 3 damage to any target. Make them discard 2 cards. And menace. 3 damage to you. Oh, no, that's discarding 2 cards. Then 3 damage to you. I don't see how there's anything they could do here for only 1 mana. Look at that. They had Massacre Worm and Children's Edict. Ouch. I think maybe they were a little greedy. Alright, let me show you this real quick. Broadcast use falls below 20% of TV for the first time. You'll notice we have the traditional broadcast channels combined with cable, and streaming's done better than all of that. So what people are doing, and I don't tend to do this. If I watch YouTube, it's usually on my phone or on the computer. But a lot of people have started casting from their device, from either their laptop or their home computer or their phone to their big screen TV. That's how a lot of people are consuming things, especially with the streaming channels now. And streaming is just eating everybody's cake. And they have the breakout here. And part of the reason I wanted to share this is because YouTube is beating Netflix actually at 12.8% at the top here. One of the other interesting thing, a couple of interesting things I'd like to point out. The big companies, corporations, Warner Brothers, Peacock, and Paramount, they haven't figured out the streaming thing yet. As much as they've tried to create their own garden, so to speak, the other channels are actually beating them, including the free channels, Tubi and Roku. Those you don't pay for. At Paramount, Peacock, you pay a monthly subscription price for that. Roku and Tubi are free. You just have to sit through commercials, which isn't as bad as it seems anymore because almost all of these streaming channels have decided they're going to show you commercials regardless of whether you're paying any kind of premium cost or not. There's enough loopholes and exceptions that in all of your terms of use with every one of these, they're like, oh, you know how you're paying a premium even to get rid of commercials? You may still see an occasional commercial now. So you can parse that how you want. But there are a lot of the audience that are looking for a bargain because times are tough. So they're willing to sit through the commercials to watch their content if they don't have to pay additional money for it. And that alone, there's a bigger audience that's willing to do that rather than pay the monthly subscription cost for an individual company that doesn't have as much intellectual property. Prime is doing better just because Amazon is so big and so many people have a Prime account anyway regardless. So that's just the size of them as a corporation, and they decided to get into video. That's part of why they're doing well. Disney's coming in second behind Netflix because they went on a buying spree of intellectual property. So they have more than Paramount, Peacock, and Warner Brothers probably all combined. They have their original content. They bought Pixar. They bought Marvel Comics. They bought Star Wars. So they have like 4 different gardens of products, and they poured a lot of money into this. So coming in second compared to everybody else is not a bad deal for them, but I think they're still having trouble with profitability at this point. So we'll see if they can figure that out. But in all of this, the place that we watch stuff for free, although YouTube has a premium option as well, but it's not that I'm making all the money, right? My channel's not monetized yet. Google is getting all the money. So you can't get around some monolithic giant corporation still getting all of the money. But it's kind of interesting to me that, take Star Wars, for example. You spend 100 million, 150 million to create a streaming show. And instead of going there, more people are going to a place like YouTube and they're watching this type of stuff based on an idea of, hey, I want to watch something that's specific to me for my own either information or education or entertainment. And you know what? It's kind of interesting. It's really showing when you give people a choice, what are their choices going to be? In the old days when you had just like NBC, CBS, and ABC, we'd watch everything. We didn't have much in the way of standards. Even if a show was mediocre, we'd watch it. We did have this universal ability to talk to each other about everything the next day, right? Because we'd all watch the same stuff. We ended up getting stuff like, PBS, if you count PBS. We got Fox as a channel. We ended up getting MTV, and cable came onto the scene. So everything's been a case of expanding choice, more choice all the time. And what are we doing with that choice? A lot of it is watching content that is basically, I mean, you pay for your cable connection, right? But you're still basically watching stuff for free. I'll put out the Ginger Brute. They've got life gain already, and if they've got a really big life gain theme, we could be in trouble. But really what I need is untapped land, because this is going to become too big. Okay, so what I can do, let's go ahead and just kill the life linker now. Then we get rid of this thing, because they're going to have another creature. And we did get a land out of that, and now we've got a potential blocker if they don't have 2 more creatures that they introduce this turn. And look at that. They got 2 creatures. Okay, so now we're in trouble, actually. They're just going to get rid of their token. I could use another playful shove. Another way the creatures all get buffed up. Okay, they played almost everything they had. I've played almost everything I have. We're the ones on the run. Can't really attack into that. And if they get another hit like that, we are done for. So we need them not to be able to stop that. In the meantime, we go after this. We still do 1 point of damage, but it just gets them down to 20. And if they have removal and they can bump this up to 6 again, we still got 1 point of life left. So hopefully that wasn't too greedy. If they don't top deck something to take out our flyer, we'll be safe. Are you kidding me? You don't even try? It's 20-7! I apologize. I'm kind of late already because I was trying to get some good battles in. I'm not sure if this is enough of a good battle, but I kind of ran out of time for the day, so we are going to have to close it up here. Let me show you the deck one more time. So I think it belongs where it is on the Kaizen scale here. It's not the most evil deck. It's not quite on the side of the Angels yet. It's still frustrating to play against, and it kind of, especially when it gets Scrawling Crawler in there, it plays against the card draw advantage deal by pinging you for damage each time. So that's another kind of insidious evil that I'm going to build on shortly. But I did want to go ahead and encourage you. The Aftermath cards, the Aftermath series was a bad idea. They put in fewer cards, charged a higher price. It was a very bad commercial offering. Wizards completely changed their next expansion with Outlaws of Thunder Junction, canceled the aftermath that had already been designed, threw it into the overall expansion set of Thunder Junction. That's how bad they had already made everything, and they realized that it was such a bad choice. They got so much negative customer feedback on it that they dismantled all of their aftermath plan, kind of their plan going forward. It's I've never seen a company turn an about face that fast. But these aftermath cards, although they maybe fell a little bit in terms of giving us enough story, which is what they were kind of billed as, the designs of the cards are kind of neat. They're a little bit, you could argue any one of them might be considered a little overpowered, but you know, it's legendary. It's a mythic rare card. It's supposed to be splashy. It's supposed to be exciting. I did like the design of the aftermath cards, even if the set was kind of a disaster for the company, I think. But with that, let me know what you think of the deck. As always, we do invite you to like and subscribe and that sort of stuff. And let me know what you think of the YouTube audience sort of coming into its own and doing so well against traditional broadcast TV, and what the future is going to look like with that. With that, thanks for joining me, everybody. Have a good one.